the music of Bach is stirring. And what he does in that text, in that tune, is he takes the simplest of chorales, just a flowing melody, which you all sang so well. Thank you for doing that. And he wraps around it all of these chords and this moving bass line, and it just lifts me, at least, into a whole nother realm. So I don't know. Thanks to God for Bach. Would you pray for me and with me as I speak words of prayer? Gracious God, may the words of my mouth and the meditations of our hearts be acceptable and pleasing and holy in your sight this day, for you are the source of our strength. You are the rock of our redemption. Amen. I suspect that I've told this story before. I'm old. I'm beginning to repeat myself. Did I mention that? I repeat myself. At the staff meeting the other day, I had a great idea about some Sunday in the future having 4 stations for communion, since so many of you sit in the back and won't come down front no matter how much we insist. There are $20 bills under the pews up front here, so I don't know if that will encourage anyone or not. And my idea was to have four serving stations. We might do that some time in the future. And then 2 days later, to the same people of the staff, I said that again as if it was a brand new idea. You know, I mean, like I'd already said, and Nancy was kind enough to say, you mentioned that at staff meeting the other day. So I'm a repeater. I'm already repeating myself. And this story that I'm about to tell you, as long as I get to it, I'm getting old, so I also go on and on with my stories, is one I might have told before. I certainly have told it in other places. It's about the head usher at the Belmont United Methodist Church, where I began my ministry going on 38 years ago now. We were appointed there by Bishop James Thomas back in 1982. Diane and I were still fresh out of seminary. We'd only been married 3 years. We were practically wet behind the ears when they sent us to Belmont, a small village in southeastern Ohio in Belmont County. We hadn't yet had our children. They were born while we lived there during those years. They were born, Sarah and Andrew, in Wheeling, West Virginia, just across the river. We grew up considerably while we were there, my wife and I. And so these folks and the stories that they gave me and the lessons that they taught me and the challenges that they presented me, these folks appear quite often in my own accounts of ministry, those that I reflect upon and also occasionally tell. Bill Wise then and his wife Eileen were dairy farmers. They milked their cows, some 100 head of them, 3 times a day, twice on Sunday, summer, winter, spring, and fall. And that's the source of the story. Bill would come to church every Sunday morning, having been up already for around 5 hours at work on Sunday. I work 1 hour a week. He worked 5 hours on Sunday morning. Please don't repeat to my grandma, who's gone now, that I said I work 1 hour a week. She would spit at me. My grandpa was a pastor. She hated that line. Bill had already worked 5 hours when he came to church to serve as the head usher, to open the doors and turn on the lights, to fire up the furnaces and prepare the bulletins, to do everything that he needed to do in order to make ready the space, to make it bright and comfortable and hospitable and welcoming for all the folks from that congregation who would begin streaming in around 9:30 for Sunday school and then 10:45 for the morning worship. Bill would stand at the door and greet people, shaking their hands as they entered. I have a picture somewhere in my memorabilia of he and Ed Fraley standing greeting folks, engaging in this ministry that we now call radical hospitality, but back then we just referred to it as being nice. Bill and Ed would pass out the bulletins and show folks to their seats. Some sat on what they called the rich side. Others sat on the poor side. That's what they called it. I don't know where the rich and poor people sit here. We're all kind of the same here. There were around 100 most Sunday mornings, a few more during the high holy seasons, like Advent or Easter or Mother's Day, less in the summer, of course. Finally, when everything was set, When all the people were in their places, just before Marilyn Hinkle began to play the organ prelude and I'd call the service to order, Bill would take up his space in the back on his special padded chair, a chair that sat right above the furnace grate, a furnace grate that streamed out warm air, particularly on cold winter mornings. And the combination of that warm air and the soothing organ music and the dulcet tones of the preacher would quickly put Bill fast asleep. Because he'd been up 7 hours working, doing his job. Of course, he would wake up just in time to collect the offering, to sing the closing hymn, and then to let people stand in line and greet the preacher. Nice sermon, Bill would say, although I knew he hadn't heard a word of it. And then he'd clean up the pews and put away the fans and turn off the furnaces and lock the doors. Little did he know that he'd become, for me, a sort of permanent sermon illustration, one that comes up every 3 years or so when these texts that are before us this morning on the first Sunday of Advent come into our attention. These texts that call you and me to keep awake. Keep awake, Jesus exclaims. These are words that are almost the last ones Jesus tells in the Gospel of Mark. This is the year of Mark. We'll begin from this point on reading from Mark's Gospel and some of John until next Advent. Keep awake, Jesus exclaims, this final message that he delivers to his friends and followers before he himself is delivered up, sentenced to die. Keep awake, for you do not know when the master of the house will come. Jesus is, of course, speaking symbolically here, metaphorically, about a time which he believed would come soon, one when the divine intentions for human history, the ultimate outcome for God's plan for the human story, when all of that would finally be brought to fulfillment. Jesus believed that that would happen soon. The sun will be darkened, and the moon will fail to give its light. These are images from ancient Hebrew apocalyptic, like that which we find in the book of Daniel in the Old Testament or Revelation in the New. The stars will fall from heavens, and the powers in the heaven will shake. Then they will see the Son of Man coming in the clouds with great power and glory, and he will send out his angels and gather his elect from the ends of the earth to the ends of heaven. Thus says the Lord. But, preacher, the congregation might say, what sort of text is this to be read on the first Sunday of the holiday season, when we're surrounded by beautiful symbols and signs of Christmas finery, lights and bunting, trees and flowers, poinsettias placed just so? Why read this text when we are surrounded outside this place and almost submerged by the signs of the Christmas season encroaching on us, submerging us as we are called to spend our society into a financial and economic bounty? Why would we want to hear and heed the lesson of the fig tree, that in the emergence of springtime leaves we see portents of summer that is to come, the season of summer to be sure, but also the season of God's intent? Why call attention to a fig tree when we'd rather hear stories about fur? Well, it's for this reason. Because this isn't the holiday season. No matter how hefty your daily record was last Wednesday, no matter how plump your turkey was a week ago Thursday, no matter how early you might have gotten up on Friday morning to hit the sales at Walmart or Kohl's or Best Buy, no matter how much you hoped that we would sing Christmas carols this morning, this is not the holiday season. It's Advent. Advent is a season of hope and anticipation and expectation, to be sure. But all of that is not yet fulfilled. Beth Tanner writes these words to those of us who would rush on to Christmas and avoid the wait, avoid the season. She says, the economy has turned, and individual members and congregations as a whole are free to face new economic realities. But on any given Sunday, there are parents in the congregation who are wondering how to tell their children that there will be fewer presents this year. There are children praying for their mom or dad to find a real job. The hurt is real and the pain is evident. Another group will suffer through the holidays in new sites, far from home and feeling alone. For other families, this will be the last Christmas together because one of them has a terminal diagnosis that no amount of spending or partying can turn over. Even in a family without major life changes, Christmas is stressful as we balance all the things to do along with job and family responsibilities. We all long, she says, for something that presents cannot buy. We long for something beyond that big Christmas experience. We long for peace. We long for a better world that's more substance than show. We long for God. Oh, you who would tear open the heavens and come down. Isaiah cries these words, addressing the Holy One, who made all things in the beginning, and who is called upon now to make all things new. This prophet, this seer, who speaks on behalf of an ancient people, a people surrounded by signs of the absence of God, unsatisfied hopes, unfulfilled expectations, unmet dreams and desires. This prophet Isaiah speaks as well for us in this hour of our own discontent, in this second year of a new administration, in this second decade in a new millennium, in this third millennium since the first coming of Christ and his announcement of the onset of God's rule. When you did awesome deeds that we did not expect, you came down, and the mountains quaked at your presence. From ages past, no one has heard, no ear has perceived, no eye has seen any God but you, who works for those who wait. And so we wait. We wait for the invasion to start. We wait for the revolution to begin. We wait for the heavens to crack open and the earth to be shaken, for God to come down and make all things new. Will Willimon writes, we come to church for certitude, for peace, stability, and reassurance, and are surprised on this first Sunday in Advent to find ourselves disrupted, turned upside down, or is it right side up, pushed out of our attempt at a comfort zone, exploring an unknown future. A future shaped in ways that we cannot see nor fully imagine, except that we know the one who shapes, the one who forms, the potter who creates, the artist, the composer who writes. And so, my friends, the end is near. About that day or hour, the Master says, no one knows. Neither the angels in heaven, nor the Son, but only the Father. Beware. Keep alert. For you do not know when the time will come. Now let